BARK Radio.
What's good, everybody? It's Robo from All Bark back with another video, and today I'm bringing you my first 2025 NBA mock draft. I'll be going over my predictions for all 59 picks and breaking down each player. I also wanted to mention that all the heights listed in this video are from the NBA Combine's official barefoot measurements. Obviously, everybody's going to be taller on court, but this is just what the official listings are. Coming soon, I'm going to have an updated big board after the Combine and withdrawals, so stay tuned for that. And that's all I got for the intro, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the mock draft. Before we get into the list, here's my honorable mentions. These are guys that I do not currently have getting drafted, but absolutely could. This is in a bit of an order in terms of how much I like them or their chances to get picked are, but it's not set in stone by any means. Let me know your thoughts on if there's anyone here you'd think deserves a shot in the draft. I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts on these guys, or even players that I left off the list. But with that said, let's go ahead and get started with the draft. The Dallas Mavericks won the Cooper Flag sweepstakes, and they're going to make him the #1 pick. He was the National Player of the Year as a freshman after one of the more dominant two-way seasons we've seen from a freshman in some time. He's still just an 18-year-old and averaged 20 points a game and showcased the versatility, dishing out 4 assists, shooting at a high clip, and being an incredible defensive presence for the Blue Devils. The shot-making jump late in the year is proof he can be a #1 guy in the league to me. The handle and continued shot improvement is what can separate him into a superstar at some point.
11 points for Arizona. They're down 1. Flag. Got to take it over by Gillis and Duke. Flag pushing, looks at the clock, fires a 3. Down it goes. Not bank it in. Malowacz keeps it alive. Somehow it ends up in Flag's hand.
The Spurs landed pick 2, which makes them pretty flexible with big trade packages. But if they keep the pick, it'll be Dylan Harper. Sure, they've got guards already, but Harper's a unanimously #2 prospect in this draft class with a super high ceiling. Harper dominated the floor for Rutgers this season as an offensive engine. He's got a rare blend of scoring, playmaking, and size at the lead guard spot that make him such a great prospect. He can score at the rim, he has a strong handle and burst, and the jumpers come along as well so far. His skill set's similar to a Cade Cunningham or a bigger Jalen Brunson, and the Spurs can take him and clean up the guard situation later.
The conference in assists. Harper splitting the defense.
There's Harper. Students counting it down and get right to the basket.
The 76ers have pick 3, and I think they take the swing on Ace Bailey with it. I could see his game blending well with the Sixers core next season, and regardless of what the future looks like in Philly, his ceiling is sky high. The shot making this season was at a level you can't ignore no matter your opinion on him, and I think his shot creation took a bit of a leap compared to early in the season, and the athleticism at his size is enough to be a top 5 pick. His size and length make him a strong upside defender, especially with his ability to help around the rim, and the shot selection could get better in a stronger situation to me.
Bailey's got just 5. He fires a 3. It's work a lot better. The ball's going in with some of these guys. Oh, the cross. Bailey off with 4. Rice inside. Oh.
Here's Bailey again. Knifing inside. Bailey to the rim.
The Hornets battled through another rough year of injuries and now could be adding VJ Edgecombe into that young core as a result. VJ grew a ton this season at Baylor. He wasn't much of a scorer early on, more just an athlete, but as the year progressed he took a major leap as a scorer and creating his own offense. Before the year started, he was a potential top 5 pick despite clear shooting questions, and now he solidified himself there, projecting to be at least a decent shooter and a good two-way player. And again, the main attraction with VJ is the freak athleticism and defense, and I like his fit at the 2 in Charlotte.
Stolen away, breakaway. Rob Ryan is back.
Trying to find the open man. They do. Edgecombe got him.
One of them quickly. I agree.
Right. Airborne. That's a.
The Jazz can't be happy falling down to 5, but Trey Johnson is still a good prospect. I could see them taking Fears to add another pure point to the mix, but I like Trey a bit more. He's a bigger scoring guard at 6'5" without shoes. He's pretty reliant on the jumper as he's lacking a bit in explosiveness, but the shooting and touch in the mid-range is such a strong area of his game. He's established himself as a top 6 guy in this class. He shot almost 40% from deep on good volume and had a near 90% free throw percentage. And he can defend on ball well enough to suggest he'll be a plus on that side in the future, which could be big for his versatility since he hasn't shown to be much of a playmaker.
5. Johnson, step back 3. Of course. Seam. Well played by Conwell. He's going to elevate corner 3.
Just like Utah, the Wizards can't be happy falling to 6 at all, but I like Jeremiah Fears as their point guard of the future in this spot. We saw some real nice flashes out of the rookie trio last season, but I can definitely see Bub being better off as a secondary guard or playing behind Poole. Fears is one of the best young guards in all of college basketball and skyrocketed on the draft boards this year. His speed and quickness are on a different level than most guys, and he's got a knack for drawing fouls and hitting clutch shots down the stretch. The jumper has to be better and more consistent in the future, though. He didn't shoot well this season, but he's going to grow in that area, and he's got the form and occasional results to suggest that it'll improve.
He's got to get it off quick. He does.
Wagee. This is where fears is dangerous.
Look at that.
The Pelicans did just draft Yves Missi last season, but I still like the fit with Derek Queen. He can be a great offensive counterpart to Missi's rim protection focus. Queen had a really strong year for Maryland. He won Big Ten Freshman of the Year over 4 other protected lottery picks. He's got a really well-rounded offensive game with great touch around the basket, a ton of strength in his frame, and some pretty advanced IQ as a playmaker out of the post. You can see some Jokic study in his game for sure. Defense is a question mark for sure, especially with the weight concerns, but his mobility isn't affected much by it, and the offensive ability definitely sets him apart from other big men in this class to me.
Queen wants to dance with Wolf. Baseline.
From the out of bounds to the freshman Queen, who's driving, floats it.
The Nets are in a tough spot at 8 and could go several directions, but Kon Knippel is a really good option here. Obviously, he's an incredible shooter, but as the season progressed, he became one of the more premier scorers for Duke. And when Cooper Flagg went down for a few games with an injury, he stepped up and came away with ACC tournament MVP. He showed some more scoring versatility and passing ability along the way. The defense wasn't an issue at the college level, but there's some limitations there. However, the shot making and playmaking are what make him a strong prospect, and the Nets could really use a guy like him in the core.
The offensive end. Knippel into traffic. Look, James kicks it. Quick release.
Cook. He always brings energy.
Kaman Maluach is a strong fit in Toronto to me, as he's definitely a raw prospect, but has a ton of size and length at the position and need for the Raptors. His defensive potential is sky high, and he dominated his role as a setup scorer and putback big man at Duke, shooting over 70% from the floor and knocking down an occasional jumper. However, Maluach can be much more than just a role player in the dunker spot. He's got some potential as a shooter, and he's an excellent screener in the pick and roll, and defensively is where he shines. On tape, he's super disruptive and tough to score over on the paint because of that reach advantage he has.
So good. Knippel to Maluach.
Back in the game, Maluach.
He's going to take it. Half. Knippel, 11 first half points.
The Rockets could definitely look to add a backup center here at 10, but with both Queen and Maluach gone, they could go best available, and Kasparas Yakuchonis could compete for minutes early with his playmaking ability and offensive upside. He had an incredible start to the year, becoming a potential top 3 pick by midseason, but some turnover issues and an efficiency drop-off slid him down for me. I still think he's worthy of a lottery pick though, and he's such a fun player to watch. He has all the tools a guard needs to succeed in the NBA, and he's got a great size for a lead guard, and I completely buy the jumper despite that low percentage.
He's from Canada.
Yakuchonis. Shot clock at 7. The free.
A lot of people will say the Blazers don't need another guard, but Igor Demon's a really good fit in Portland to me. Either him or Noah Asenge make a lot of sense, but Igor had a really solid tournament run for BYU. He's got some really high-level creation skill and is a legit 6'8" without shoes. He's arguably the best passer in the draft. The shooting slump was real though, and proved he's got a lot more room for improvement as a scorer, though I still think his playmaking, handle, and fluidness at his size is more than enough to consider him in the lottery. And if he ever gets more explosive and consistent, the potential is through the roof with him.
Alabama with 11 made threes already. Demon going to work on a man up and gives it up. Here's Demon, drives.
The Bulls could really use some front court talent alongside Buzelis for the future, and Thomas Sorber is one of my favorite guys in this draft class, honestly. He suffered an injury that ended his freshman season at Georgetown mid-season, but we saw more than enough with him to believe he's still worth a first-round pick, and in my opinion, a lottery pick. Sorber is just an all-around big who impacted the college game in several ways at just 18 years old. He can score, pass, rebound well, and defend at a high level, and just measured in with a 7'6" wingspan and a 9'1" standing reach. If he continues along this development curve, this could end up a great value pick for Chicago.
I would not be surprised if he gets a bucket.
Sorber.
I think the Hawks should target Colin Murray Boyles with 13. He was one of the best front court players in the country this season at South Carolina. Despite finishing last in the SEC, he managed second-team all-conference individually. The 6'7" big man has improved his game a ton, becoming a potential top 10 pick this season. He's still more of a non-shooter, but he should continue to grow in that area, and even without that, he impacts the game in so many ways on both ends of the floor and dominates in the post. He's really crafty with the ball and has taken on a real leap as a playmaker on the offensive end while being a difference maker defensively, which can make him a really nice fit in Atlanta.
That big step forward. Murray Boyles spins by. Oklahoma, the Sooners get another chance.
After grabbing Harper with pick 2, the Spurs should look to add another wing to the mix with Noah Asenge. He's another lanky French wing prospect with some questions on the jumper, but enough size and fluidness to warrant a lottery selection. The shot hasn't been great this season, but he looks comfortable shooting the ball and has been strong recently. and has found ways to score efficiently regardless. He gets to the line pretty consistently, and he's putting up about 11 points a game as an 18-year-old playing in Germany's top league. With his frame and motor on the wing, I can see a lot of teams loving him in the late lottery, but the jumper will need to be a part of his game going forward since he's not a stellar athlete. The Thunder could definitely take an older prospect here like Nick Clifford, but they love guys like Carter Bryant who project to have a really exciting ceiling they can develop. I was early on Bryant, and he eventually came around later on in the year, shooting well in the first round consideration with a minute spike. The usage rate is concerning, but his minutes and role saw a leap because of his consistent disruption on the defensive end and ability to knock down shots in timely moments. And as time goes on in the league, I think we'll see Carter turn into a really well-rounded player. He can give any team smart, efficient, high-energy minutes on the wing.
Working it around out of that timeout, short for Bryant. He chases
In the trees, Bryant for three.
The Magic badly need to add shooting, not only for their current ability to win the postseason, but within their young core in general. And despite some poor measurements, Jace Richardson's a great option for them here at 16. He became Michigan State's #1 option offensively, putting up some huge scoring nights on high efficiency and consistency in the process. He is a smaller 2 guard at just 6'1" without shoes, but his ability to score isn't impacted by that. The bag is really advanced. He made a ton of tough layups and floaters in traffic and has a strong handle to beat defenders to the rim. And on top of that, the jumper is extremely pure, and to break out that level of efficiency this early on in the process is a great sign going forward as to what he can become in the league.
Most of them in the first half. Richardson is going to take it himself. He's got another gear.
The Wolves have pick 17 and definitely could look to add some win now depth. Nick Clifford's the perfect option to me. He came back to Colorado State to be the leading scorer this season, and he did exactly that, putting on some absolute clinic performances to close out the year. He also landed on the Mountain West All-Defense team, showcasing that two-way ability and locking himself as a first-round pick. Clifford put everything together this season, dropping 19 and 10 a night on 50% from the field. Now that the 3-ball was hitting at a pretty impressive volume, I think the production, two-way ability, and clear leadership values make him a potential lottery pick in this year's draft.
Clifford. So good. Clifford turns the corner.
I think the Wizards continue to stack high-ceiling young talent with Georgia forward Asa Newell. Newell is still a near lottery-level prospect for me. He fits a role I like really well in the league as an athletic stretch big who thrives in the dunker spot. He can play both the 4 and 5 at the times, and he has some great games at Georgia this year displaying his freak athleticism. He's over 6'10" in shoes and is as fluid as a wing on both ends of the floor. He showed a solid jumper, and defensively he can switch and run the floor in transition. His free throw percentage suggests growth as a shooter soon, and paired with his athleticism and aggression, it makes him even more enticing to consider.
Steps into another 3. Newell fights for the rebound, takes it on Gray.
Asa Newell, he is so unselfish, but when he goes to the bucket, he will...
The Nets draft theme should be high ceiling, and at this spot in the draft, there may not be a higher ceiling player than Rasheer Fleming. His performance this season shot him into lottery contention. He didn't end the year in the way he wanted to, and I can see that dropping his stock a little bit in his range of the draft, although he was one of the most productive players in the country with a ton of versatility. The athleticism and shooting is obvious, but he's shown creation flashes and elite defensive tools and instincts, using his 7'5" wingspan to his advantage to just outmatch opponents and take over games.
That was really good. Now it goes in.
Got Bennett with Ajabo. You have 2 huge mismatches.
Yeah, could have got it to the top.
Was second behind David Dixon. Fleming.
The Miami Heat could luck into a steal here with Liam McNeely still on the board. I've cooled off on Liam lately after diving into his year a bit more. He's definitely a better shooter than his percentages in the year paint him to be, but being what they are on top of his lesser defensibility and rim finishing, it's obviously as to why his stock has taken a hit. The ceiling isn't super high, but he can definitely be an early plug and play in a rotation. Most scouts know his capabilities as a shooter and off-ball scorer though, and he still dropped a 37-point performance as a freshman, so I still see him fitting in well in the NBA as an off-ball movement shooter and connector.
Now, a bucket here could make it interesting. McNeely!
Down by Johnson. The cutter. McNeely rises up.
I like Danny Wolf of the Jazz here at 21 after taking Trey Johnson at 6. Danny ended the year on a strong note, helping Michigan make the Sweet 16. 7-footers with his skill set are so rare, and he continued to be a playmaker for Michigan while leading them on the glass as a near double-digit rebounder. He can put the ball on the floor and isolate to get buckets, and off the ball he's got legit range. He shot under 34% from 3 though, so I wouldn't say it's a strength of his, but he is a capable shooter. However, the long-term defensive ability against NBA bigs is a definite question with him.
Wolf. Tough matchup. Takes it in. Wolf against Broom. Step back, Jay. Maybe on the bounce here. Wolf crosses, spins.
The Hawks are back up with 22, and I like Nolan Traore here as a high upside bet. He had a pretty rough season after some high expectations, which really lowered his draft stock for a while, but he's in the midst of a late season surge right now. But regardless of that, I still think it's obvious he's not just quite there yet to be a lottery guy. So looking at him now, he's a 6'4" lead guard who's best as a playmaker and downhill scorer using his quickness. He dishes about 5 assists a night and could still be another future star in the NBA, as the early hype was there for a reason. We just need to see more consistent shot making with him. I like Will Riley as a potential fit for the Pacers on the wing. He's got great upside and just had some really strong measurements coming in at a legit 6'8" without shoes. He finished the back half of the season really strong, becoming a more consistent scorer for the Illini, and it led him to being named the Big Ten Sixth Man of the Year. His shooting splits finished a bit lower, but we've seen the shot making on display, and he's had some big scoring bursts throughout the season. And with his size, scoring traits, and age, he'll definitely be a first round pick, and maybe much higher than this, but for now, Indiana will be a solid landing spot.
No one else in double figures. Riley's had a great second half on the move. 2023. Shot clock at 1. Riley's got to fire. It's off in time.
The Thunder probably won't use many of their picks in this draft, but if they do, I'll stick with the upside theme and have them take Ben Serif as another high-value project. He's a 6'5" guard from Israel playing in Germany and has done a great job as an all-around point guard, scoring primarily at the rim and in the mid-range. Using a great handle and change of pace to get to his spots. The downside is a lack of explosiveness and a low three-point percentage with some shaky mechanics, but if that jumper comes around, he could become an impact player fairly early on in his career.
Get into a half-court set. Montero having to match up with Sadaf. There's a step back. There's a three.
On to maybe my favorite fit in the entire draft. It's Walter Clayton Jr. to the Orlando Magic with pick 25. Clayton was one of the most exciting players to watch in the country this season. The NCAA tournament most outstanding player could go higher than this, but with his age and size combined with a score-first role could limit his stock. But he averaged over 4 assists a game, made some incredible plays throughout the year, and his improvement as a finisher is a great sign that he'll be able to score at the next level beyond just shooting. So I really like his potential, and comparing to a guy like Peyton Pritchard, which Orlando could really need.
Clayton, head and shoulder fake, step back, 10 to shoot. Clayton the drive.
The Nets have back-to-back picks here, and I'll stick with high potential guys, and LeBaron Philon fits. He's one of my favorite players in this class to watch, and although it was an up-and-down year for him, I think it was still a great freshman season, and he ended with some big playmaking performances. On the nights he has the scoring going, he was really a force for Alabama, but the efficiency with the jumper isn't great still, and on top of that, there's obviously the size limitations of this build, but he's still an incredibly quick player with a great handle and scoring bag, changing pace to beat defenders in all areas, and he's great in the mid-range and around the rim. Jawan Behringer also fits that high potential bill, and I think the Nets should keep swinging for that in this draft. Behringer has moved up my board consistently throughout the year as his performances in his role have gotten better and better. The volume isn't high enough for me to fully buy into him as a player yet, especially considering how little he gets involved in the offensive end, but he's going to get drafted based on what scouts believe he can be with an expanded role, and that's the defensive-minded big man protecting the rim and switching on defense to disrupt plays with his mobility. I've got the Celtics taking Yaxel Lendeborg here at 28 if he stays in the draft. He's made it known he's really considering playing at Michigan next year, but after shooting up the draft board in the second half of the year as a result of putting up 18 and 11 a night for UAB and winning the Defensive Player of the Year award, I do think he stays in it. He can block shots, pick up steals, score inside the arc, rebound, and make quality passing reads all at 6'9". He does have some range in his bag, but he doesn't take too many threes despite shooting above 30% on the year from them. And despite not being super young, his ceiling could still be really high.
Axel down the block.
Cedric Howard could be off the board by now after his combine performance, but if he stays in the draft, I've got the Suns grabbing him here at 29. He transferred to Washington State from Eastern Washington this offseason, and although an injury ended his season after just 6 games, he was super impressive, breaking out to 18 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 blocks a game while shooting 40% from 3. The 6'6" senior is committed to Duke, so he could pull out of this draft still, but for now, I think with the well-roundedness he showed on top of his +9 wingspan and combine shooting display, should definitely get him drafted in early round 2 at the absolute latest.
A trio of former teammates definitely helps his count.
The Clippers could use more depth, but at some point they've got to add some pieces for the future as well, and Noah Penda still on the board at 30 should be compelling to the front office if it happens. There's some mixed opinions on Penda, as some think he's a lottery-level talent. I'm a little lower on him, but I see the appeal as he's got a good shot despite the lower percentage. He's a strong defender with great frame on the wing and seems to have a great instincts on the floor. He's not a great athlete, but he's versatile enough as a player for NBA teams to be really interested in as a future plus defensive floor spacer on the wing, and could end up a draft gem if he's available here.
Been one of the stars of the show today. 14 points for Diawara.
The Wolves have pick 31 and probably go best available with it, which makes Hugo Gonzalez a realistic option. He hasn't moved much on my board this year, mostly due to a smaller role playing for Real Madrid, but scouts like his athleticism and how hard he plays on the floor. We started to see more self-creation and improved shot making in his minutes, but they've dipped down back lately, so I'm still pretty split with him. But he's had some solid production in his role as a young player in the EuroLeague so far, and clearly has the tools to be a good player going forward. Adding on to the Yaxel pick, I think Cam Jones would be a quality pick at the start of round 2 for the Celtics. Cam Jones is one of the most experienced players in his entire class and was a consensus All-American. He was one of my hidden gems in last year's draft class, and I think the extra year at Marquette was the right move, as his performance this season where he stepped up as a playmaker really helped his stock tremendously. We know he can get buckets at the college level as he's super crafty with a strong jumper, but 6 assists a night make him much more intriguing for NBA teams to consider.
Jones fall away 3 from the corner. Kept the dribble alive.
Maxime Reynaud has really started to move up the board lately and may deservedly end up a first-round pick, but I've got the Hornets grabbing him here at 33. He was one of the best offensive big men in the country this season. The senior averaged 20 points a game and over 10 rebounds, and has a great mix of footwork in the paint as well as a confident jumper. He hit the second most threes for a 7-footer in a season this year. As a defender, he definitely has to improve, but the offensive talent is definitely worth the risk.
Nice fake.
Reynaud going for the side.
With the second of back-to-back picks, I have the Hornets taking Tahad Pettiford. Tahad is someone I really love to watch play basketball at the college level. He had a stellar freshman season off the bench for one of the best teams in the country in Auburn. Tahad has an NBA-level game to me, just an undersized body that makes it a little hard to see the full potential. But that Michigan game alone in the tournament proved to a lot of people he can flat-out score the basketball. And his athleticism can help with the lack of size for sure.
Pettiford on the reload. Pettiford has to go back and get it. Pettiford, step back. Switch back, tennis shoot. Got a good handle too. Pettiford pirouettes.
The Sixers adding an athletic defensive wing and Adu Thiero will be a solid addition at 35. He missed some time with an injury this year, but he looks healthy now for pre-draft stuff. He's come a long way as a player since Kentucky. He's a stellar athlete who knows how to use it to his advantage to create his own offense. And he's got good size in the wing combined with great footwork on the ball, which helped make him one of the best inside the arc scorers in the country this season. The jumper needs work, and he doesn't play make much, but he can fit into a strong bench role.
The hands of Owe. Thiero.
The final Nets pick of the draft for me is Boga Markovic. I think he's one of the better second-round project picks in this class. He is frail for 6'11", but he seems to be filling out a bit and should continue to grow in that area. He scores mostly with spot-up jumpers, running the floor, and having great touch in the post. And the mobility is a big draw for his potential at his size.
Markovic. Markovic.
The Pistons should look to add a stretch big rim protector here with Janai Broom. He was one of the best players in college basketball this season, taking away the SEC Player of the Year award and finishing runner-up for National Player of the Year. He's an all-around big man with production in basically every category. He put up 2.5 blocks a night and 19-point double-double with clear playmaking flashes out of the post. With him, you're getting a complete NBA-ready post player, especially if the jumper continues improving.
Back for Broom. The back in. Broom. Fade away. Much better match here. Isolation.
I can see the Spurs adding more size with a guy like Ryan Kalkbrenner, who is one of the most dominant bigs in all of college basketball, especially as a rim protector. He took home the Big East Defensive Player of the Year award 4 times, using his size to his advantage and being really effective as a disruptor around the rim, even though he's not the most mobile center out there. Offensively, the range is expanding, but still he has a ways to go with consistency to me.
Zay Lowry, the step through and Kalkbrenner.
Stephen Ashford still has not scored yet. As Kalkbrenner takes an outside
for 29 against Duke in the ACC title game.
Drake Powell had a slower year than he had hoped for, but we still see the talent on display, especially on the defensive end. The freshman had a ton of hype as a defensive wing prospect. He mainly played in a spot-up role, but previously was much more than that. But he shot 38% from deep and is a great motor on both ends of the floor, and again, his values on the defensive end, as well as the efficiency he showed on that three-point shot this season.
Drake Powell, pull-up pop, got it to R.J. Davis. Drives all the way through. In the corner left to Powell for...
Alex Toohey could be a strong second-round option in addition to the Wizards. He flirted with the draft process last cycle, but chose to return to the NBL, and this year he improved quite a bit. He's showing more aggressiveness, especially getting to the rim, and I think the shooting is something a lot of people think will be a strength of his with some time, as he's already made strides in that area year to year.
Interest in can they do it? Will they do it? Did anyone really think He forces the fever break. Here's Adams finding Tui in the corner.
I think the Warriors should look to add another wing to the young core, specifically a 3-and-D guy with high potential, and Miles Bird could be that guy. There was a point I considered Miles Bird a potential lottery pick this season, but his shooting splits fell a ton after a cold stretch, and he finished under 40% of the season and 30 from deep. But I buy him as a shooter long term, and the big draw here is the 3 stocks a game and crazy athleticism as a 6'6" wing.
Trail 3, Bird.
10 to shoot. Silahusky, backdoor cut.
After trading away De'Aaron Fox, the Kings could use more options at point guard, and Tyrese Proctor had his best season of his career this year, especially from a shooting standpoint. Over 40% from 3, including a red-hot start to the tournament, and also a career-high 45% from the floor. The assist totals were down with Cooper Flagg and a guard-heavy team this season, so I buy the previous creation now with a much-improved jumper.
250 with a ridiculous wingspan.
Oh, say goodnight.
Proctor.
The Jazz get some elite shooting on the wing by picking Kobe Brea 44th. Brea is the best shooter in the entire draft class, and in terms of percentage, has been arguably the best shooter in all of college basketball over the past few seasons. His downsides and major flaws on the defensive end, as well as a lack of creation and on-ball ability. But as a shooting specialist, I definitely think Brea could find a spot in the league.
We'll try to lock him up tonight. Brea will shoot from the outside.
I've got the Thunder adding some size with Alex Condon at 45. He was one of Florida's best players this season. A less impactful tournament performance from him did hurt his stock a bit, so we'll see if he stays in the draft or returns for another year. But I love his mobility and feel as a big man on top of his defensive presence. He can block shots and switch on to guards and hold his own. And if the jumper proves to be more consistent, he's got some real potential.
Very well. And they can push it to 10, and they will. Wide open.
Now it's Richard. Look at this.
I've got Darian Williams coming off the board of the Bulls here at 45. If Darian stays in the draft, I think this could be a solid impact pick. He's a bigger guard at 6'5" and plays really well in the post using his strength. He showcased his shot making this season, having some big scoring nights, including 23 against Florida. But he's not the greatest athlete, so the two-way versatility is definitely the big sell of his game.
Knox will pick him up. Williams corkscrews up, off, and top. Hawkins here, Toppin, screen, cross-court Williams, firing a 3.
I've had the Magic take shooters with their first 2 picks, so I'm pivoting to a project big man in Penn State's Yannick Conan Niederhauser. He's skyrocketed up the ranks after a really strong showing at the G League Elite Camp, where he earned a combine invite. So much so that despite me not being super high on him as a player, I'd expect him to get drafted, and probably not even that late. He's got some development to do in order to be an effective NBA player, but the athleticism is obvious, and he plays with great energy, especially on the defensive end and attacking the rim as a roll man. The Bucks this late in round 2 should look towards the future and grab a guy like Carter Knox. Knox is a candidate for the 2026 draft, but there's some real potential with him as a two-way wing after a pretty solid freshman season. He had some injuries early, but when healthy late in the year, the size and strength really showed, and he scored the ball efficiently at the rim and from 3. He's got room to grow as a shooter, but his defensive upside is clear. He's athletic and well above average on the interior for a wing, so I think he's definitely worth a selection. I see the Grizzlies staying in state here, taking Tennessee standout shooter Chaz Lanier. Chaz transferred to Tennessee from North Florida and made an instant impact offensively. He's a gifted offensive weapon and finished his college career with a 40% three-point percentage and almost 700 attempts. He projects as an average-sized 2 guard, and the defense and playmaking is definitely lacking, which is why he's a round 2 guy. But his quick release and elite efficiency is a great asset that should draw a lot of interest.
Chaz Lanier, quick release there. Lanier with 10 first half points.
Milos Uzan said he returned to school unless he gets a guarantee, but as of now, I like his fit with the Cavs in round 2. He helped lead Houston to a national title appearance and is without a doubt a winning player. He was stellar at the college level, and he has the size to play in the NBA at either guard spot, and as most Houston players are, he's an excellent defender. He shot 43% from deep this season and is super efficient as a passer, averaging over 4 assists and just 1 turnover per game.
Uzan. Shake and bake.
I've got the Knicks keeping RJ Lewis at home at MSG in round 2. RJ's another guy who entered the portal, so he may not end up in this draft class, but this season he developed into one of the best players in the country at St. John's. The All-American and Big East Player of the Year averaged 18 a night at 6'7". That scoring ability as a taller guard will be intriguing to NBA front offices. His best abilities are getting to the rim, drawing fouls, and scoring inside the arc, and he plays with super high effort and energy. I like the Clippers grabbing Zion James at 51. He came to Duke this offseason from Tulane and was a very high-quality starting guard for one of the best teams in the country. James led on the ACC All-Defense team of the season. He has good size for a guard listed at 6'6". He shot over 40% from 3 this season, so the shooting value on top of the defense could help outperform this draft slot for sure.
Active when he's in the game. Nice slip. The roll. Extra.
I think Jamir Watkins could be a good option around 2 for the Suns if he stays in the draft. His stock's been fairly stagnant compared to where it was last year, but his level of play this season was still solid. He's a 6'7" wing with good strength and a ton of athleticism who's working on the jumper despite, again, a lower percentage. And while he's still up and down, I definitely see the improvement. He's got a lot of value as a defender and athlete on the floor regardless. The Jazz could definitely continue stacking young talent with every pick here, so I think Pate could be a viable option rather than taking an older prospect. Pate's another big guard who had some higher hopes, but just hasn't put it all together yet. There's a lot of highs and lows with performances in the G League, especially in terms of the jumper, but his ability to create looks for himself, as well as his versatility due to his size and skill set, definitely make him an intriguing selection.
Pass ahead to Pate. Pate will be
have shown a lot of creativity. Oh my goodness.
I think the Pacers could use some big depth and select Rocco Sikorsky down here in late round 2. He didn't get much playing time in the NBL after entering the season, one of the higher upside players in this draft, but he does have great size at the center position, standing around 7'3". He's not the strongest, and he lacks speed and quickness to be as mobile as he needs to be right now. He does make up for it a bit, though, with the solid defensive instincts and his obvious youth. I got the Lakers taking Nevada wing Kobe Sanders with their lone draft pick. Sanders was a stand-up performer at the Portsmouth Invitational and earned himself an invite to the NBA Combine, skipping the G League Elite Camp entirely. He's a 6'8" scorer who averaged almost 5 assists a night this season, showcasing his ability as a lead initiator. He's not an incredible athlete, but he is passable, and the well-rounded offensive skill set can make him an impactful player.
And very good at it, too.
Eric Dixon's my pick for the Grizzlies' second round choice. He was also one of the best scorers in the country this season, leading the nation in points per game with 23 a night. Even with his age being a clear negative and some athletic limitations as a tweener big man, the season he had as a versatile bucket getter should give him a shot in the league.
The proof is in that. 4 for their last 5. Dixon. 1 more point from the all-time record. Into the paint. Up and under.
Shooting needs to be the theme of this Magic draft, and John Tonja is another experienced college scorer who can fit on the wing. The Colorado State and Missouri transfer landed on first-team All-Big Ten. It was a consensus All-American for Wisconsin this season, putting up almost 20 points a night on great efficiency along with an absurd free throw percentage. He's a stellar scorer who definitely has NBA upside.
Out there. Tonje will try a triple of his own. Tonje on the drive, hangs and...
I think the Cavs could take a stab at a potential draft gem here with Hansen Yang. Yang is a massive old-school big man out of China who has dominated with footwork, high-level passing reads, and elite rebounding. The downsides are the slow feet, lack of explosion, and limited range, but he's averaged over 20 and 11 in the CBA since mid-March, has shown really strong touch and feel, and a jumper could come along as he knocked down some threes, which would be huge for his future. With the final pick of the draft, I have the Rockets taking a stab at late riser Amari Williams. He's a super physical big man listed at 7 foot 260. He's a special passer out of the post, showing that playmaking upside. He rebounds the ball exceptionally well, and his rim presence is strong enough on both ends, and despite his age, I definitely see him getting an opportunity in the NBA because of that ability on the interior, and he could be a pretty solid fit in Houston. That's it for my first 2025 NBA mock draft. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and who you want your team to target this offseason, as well as any ideas you have for content in the future. As always, thanks for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
BARK Radio.